Every crime leaves a trail, but not every trail leads answers. Here, we follow the cases that haunt, the mysteries that linger, and the truths buried in darkness. Welcome to Veil of Mysteries.
The killer who confessed too late. In every town, there are stories that never leave. They linger in whispers, in newspaper clippings yellowed with age, and in the memories of those who lived through them. For the small town of Crestwood, that story was the disappearance of Emily Parker. Emily wasn't famous, wasn't wealthy, and wasn't the kind of girl you'd expect to be the center of a decades-long mystery. She was simply 22 years old, a nursing student at the county hospital, a young woman described as kind, hardworking, and always smiling. But one warm night in July of 1989, she vanished into the dark, leaving behind nothing but questions, and a community that would never be the same. The night of disappearance. It was a Friday evening when Emily clocked out of her late shift. A co-worker recalled her saying that her old Honda Civic was acting funny and might not start. Yet, she seemed calm, certain she'd managed to get home. But Emily never made it there. The next morning, her car was found parked on the edge of Miller's Creek, an isolated road on the outskirts of town. The driver's side door was unlocked, her purse sat on the passenger seat, and the keys dangled from the ignition. It looked as if she had simply stepped out of her car and dissolved into thin air. Police launched an immediate search. Volunteers combed the woods, divers searched the creek, and helicopters circled overhead. But Emily was gone. The investigation that went nowhere. At first, suspicion fell on Emily's boyfriend, a college student named Mark Benton. He was questioned relentlessly, his alibis torn apart, his private life dissected. But nothing tied him to Emily's disappearance. Attention then shifted to the hospital. Was there someone among her co-workers with a hidden obsession? A jealous rival? Again, nothing. Tips came in, dozens of them, but every lead ended in frustration. By the time the case hit its second year, it had turned cold. And by the time the 1990s ended, Emily's name was spoken only in hushed tones, usually followed by the same hopeless phrase, "We'll never know what happened to her." The confession. In 2017, nearly 3 decades later, the case returned to life in the most unexpected way. An elderly man named Richard Malley walked into a police precinct 3 states away. He was gaunt, his hands trembling not only from age but from a terminal illness that doctors had told him would soon end his life. He had no lawyer, no family at his side. Just a burden he could no longer carry. "I need to confess," he said quietly. "I killed her. I killed Emily Parker." Detectives froze. 4 years, Emily's case had been an open wound. Now, this frail stranger was claiming to be the one who caused it. The story he told. Malley's story was chilling. He had worked as a maintenance man at the hospital in 1989, invisible to most people, blending into the background. On the night Emily vanished, he noticed her struggling with her car and offered her a ride. She accepted, trusting him. But instead of taking her home, he drove her down a back road near an abandoned farmhouse. He claimed he only wanted to talk, but an argument escalated. When she tried to get out, he panicked. In his words, "I didn't mean for it to happen." Emily never left that farmhouse alive. Malley admitted to burying her in a shallow grave behind the property. He returned to work the next day as if nothing had happened. For nearly 30 years, he lived with the secret, watching from a distance as police chased false leads and Emily's parents aged under the weight of grief. Too late for justice. Detectives immediately rushed to the site Malley described. But what they found was devastating. The farmhouse had been demolished in the early 2000s. The land had since been bulldozed and turned into a housing development. Any remains that might have been there, any evidence that could tie Malley to the crime, was gone forever. Legally, the confession was weak without physical proof. Malley knew this. His timing wasn't a coincidence, he was dying. He would never face trial, never sit in a courtroom, never serve a sentence. His confession was not about justice. It was about unburdening his conscience before death. The family's agony. For Emily's family, the confession cut deeper than the crime itself. Her parents, now elderly, sat in the police station as Malley's words were played back to them. They finally had an answer, but it came wrapped in cruelty. They would never recover Emily's body. They would never see justice served. And they would never know if Malley had told the whole truth, or if more secrets still died with him. Her mother said through tears, He had 30 years to speak. He waited until it cost him nothing. Mallory died only 3 months after his confession, in a hospital bed far from the town he once terrorized. No trial. No sentencing. Just a deathbed admission and a lifetime of unanswered questions left behind. In Crestwood, people still argue about the case. Some say at least the family got the truth. Others believe Mallory robbed them twice, first of Emily, then of justice. And so the story of Emily Parker remains half-written. Known, but unfinished. Solved, yet never truly resolved. Because sometimes the cruelest crime isn't the act itself, it's the silence that follows. That was the killer who confessed too late.